with us while we sort out these little technical difficulties. Nevertheless, um, let's just allow a few more persons to get in, and then we're going to get started.
It's taking so long. Let me ask you something. Are you, hang up, hang up. Devin, are you hearing me through this mic?
Yes, you're clear, Mr. Chair.
I'm not hearing.
You're hearing?
You're not hearing me, right?
Yes, I am. We are
I'm not hearing you though. You hear me? Like, shake your head if you are. You hear me, but I'm not hearing you. Why is that? What am I not doing right?
Not sure.
No, this is on mute. He's hearing me, but I'm not hearing him. When I hook it up to the microphone system I bring in, I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. If not, I'm gonna use the cell phone alone. Hold on a second. You may say something.
Yeah.
Can I hear it?
Are you hearing now, Daryl?
But I'm not hearing it. I don't know why.
Is this better now? Are you hearing properly?
Sound check, Devin.
Yes, Darren?
You're hearing me clear. I'm hearing you now. All right.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. All right. So,
you hear me? You hear me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's done.
Huh? Oh, so that's why. So what do you do with this? So I guess I got to use the headset too. People come.
Darren, you sounding very old there, man. Get
huh?
To the thing. You sounding very old.
No. I
Okay.
bought a new device. It's the first time I'm using it. It's on the lights and the microphone at the top of it. So I'm actually trying to get using this rather than just the phone.
Okay, I understand.
So I want to make sure you're hearing me now.
Okay, great.
Good. All right, good. So we go to...
We're ready to start. Okay, so 60 minutes after 2 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. This meeting here is a very, very important and special one. As committed to early on here. Again, I'm going to just encourage the participants to mute their microphone.
Thank you as always.
Okay. Right. So, as I was saying, this is a very important meeting, particularly in our in the political hemisphere that we're in currently, the political situation. As committed to the residents of Region 10 and even those in the diaspora throughout Guyana, that we, the leaders of Region 10, will be engaging you ever so often, at least on a monthly basis. This is combined with the various outreaches that we have across the region. So this is a commitment that is being fulfilled, that we were committed to again early on this year. Joining us today as part of this this session, we have Member of Parliament Jeremy Figuera, myself, Devin Sears, Member of Parliament. We are also joined by the Chairman of the Upper Demerara East region, which is Mr. Darren Adams, also the Vice Chairman of Upper Demerara East, Mr. Mark Gorin. And we have our worship the Mayor, Bonica Arndale, and his worship the Deputy Mayor, Mr. Wainwright Bachun, joining us today. Also, we are joined by former Regional Chairman, Mr. Sharma Salman. So former Member of Parliament, Mr. Nessie Kisoon, who has joined us. We have various councillors, both from the municipality and the Regional Democratic Council, who is a part of this meeting today. The session is broken down into two, as I indicated from the inception in our briefing, that we are going to allow the leaders to make brief remarks, and then we're going to open the floor for questioning. When we reach to the part of questioning, we're just going to ask our participants to indicate by raising their hand, and then you will be allowed to ask your question. At this time, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Sharma Solomon, our former regional chairman, who is going to be our sessional chair. Mr. Sharma Solomon, over to you.
Hi, blessed good afternoon, MP Sears, and to all the members of our Zoom program this afternoon. Let me recognize our regional chairman, our regional vice chairman, our worship the mayor, deputy mayor, and also to those many councillors who are in the audience this afternoon. I want to say thank you for joining us. As the Member of Parliament mentioned earlier, that this is a very important session. I think, as he indicated, not only for the virtual engagement that it will allow for persons outside of the region to be able to participate, but to also to lay for the example of what the region intends to do for on a monthly basis. I think this is commendable, notwithstanding the challenges that we know the region faces with regards to information dissemination. And we have the sort of restriction to access to information with a one TV station policy still in place through NCN and a one radio station system. So I believe this is commendable indeed. I am encouraged to also be part of this program, and thank you for having me as part of the program to moderate. So without further ado, let me, outside of saying thank you for being here, say thank you for those who are present, because not only your presence, but your participation is absolutely important in, I believe, this exercise, having the sort of impact and impression it seeks to have in relation to addressing issues in our community. But more than issues being addressed, how do we find solutions so that we can move forward as a people and as a community? So without any further ado, I'd like to invite our worship the mayor, Ms. Monica Harrendale, to give us our brief opening remarks, and then we'll move on from that to the deputy mayor, and we'll follow in that sequence. So, Mayor Harrendale.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair, MPs, Mr. Solomon, and others on this chat. Please let me know if you're hearing me clear enough. Okay, so good afternoon again, and we're truly honored to have this opportunity to, of course, bring to you all the things that are happening in and around the Linden community. Most of what we'll do is post listening. I think someone's microphone is on. Yes, I think most of what we'll do, of course, when you give us the questions, you'll get more in-depth answers for what you'd like to hear. Of course, Linden, as we know, seems to be highly politicized in terms of the support we get from government, from central government. But of course, you also know that we're resilient people and we continue to stand and to work together. And of course, I say every time we come on these forums that local government should be local people, local leaders, managing and organizing their communities for the betterment. And I continue to say it cannot get any better unless we understand the need to remove local government from so much national government interactions. And if we cannot remove that, then we'll continue to have the difficulties we're having right now. Being under a local government commission, being under the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, there's a lot of things that you would like to do, but those things need to be authorized by those authorities. And because of that, those persons, of course, will be able to make decisions that would sometimes hinder what you'd like to do as a local organ. We are well aware of the rates and taxes as it relates to Linden, and we know that the rates and taxes from 1976, and it has not been, we have not been reevaluated to date. We have reached out and asked for reevaluation, but that of course has been refused, that it must be done through the national level. And so those are some of the setbacks. We are aware of the issue of garbage collection within the Linden community, and we know that that is an issue to date, and we have made it clear that there are monies within the system that we've requested several times from central government, at least aid us in repairing those vehicles and trying to see how we can better serve the people of Linden. And of course, those have been refused over the years. And so it's important that we all stand together as Londoners and we make those calls so that we can become better at what we do. But of course, the main source of all that's happening is our constitution. How do we change it? How do we make sure that local government is local government, led by locals, and being performed in the way that we would like it to be? We have our other concerns. We have ministers coming into our communities and doing meeting with residents, making decisions, and our local leaders are not fully involved. So those are all the issues that are happening on the ground within the Linden community that requires all of us to stand up and to be able to approach government for better support and, of course, for more interactions before anything can be done. So, of course, I look forward to your questions and hopefully I can answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you, Mrs. Salman.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And I think we can quickly move on to the Deputy Mayor. I hope that for those who are in the audience and those who are looking on other social media platforms are noting, because as the opening segment started, it was noted that we really want to see a lot of questions coming in. So I'm appreciative of the fact that the mayor made a remarks or point or remark very brief to the point that allows for so much questions. So I really look forward to those who are in the audience to have their questions on hand and be prepared to engage these representatives that we have online this afternoon. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
All right, good enough. No, just give me 1 second. There's a machine passing right nearby where I am, so some noise in the background. Yeah. All right. Will be unable to effectively service the constituents or constituencies that vote for them. So, in terms of some of the major challenges, some of those challenges are resources in the form of financial, material, and human resources. Financial, because our expenditure far supersedes the revenues that we collect. In terms of material, we cannot effectively service because of lack of equipment to service the township. In terms of human resources, because the municipality continues to pay most persons that are employed with them below the minimum wage, they cannot attract and sustain the interests of professionals who have the capacity to really bring the municipality out of the financial bind and to effectively manage the system so that it can become buoyant and it can become effective. So I'll pause there for now. I'm open for any questions. The other thing I must say, irrespective of the services that the municipality can give to the residents, I think it's a responsible position that if there's any development within the borders of that town, it's only respectful that central government or agencies related to central government to respect not only the leaders, but the wishes of the people, because the people would have elected us. And in order for the people to get representation, if they are major developmental projects, those projects should be discussed with the local leaders, and maybe there should be an input at the embryonic stages. So that representation, that knowledge, that information to make it more effective will be added. And so when projects start, you wouldn't want when it reaches 10%, 15%, or 50%, then to realize either it's at the wrong location, it's constructed or being developed with the wrong material, it's in the wrong direction, because at the end of the day, those taxpayers' dollars, if proper consultation was done, then effective construction or development would have done, because there was general inclusiveness. So I pause here and I will wait for any questions from the panel or the general public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Betchun. And again, we are moving quickly, so I really appreciate that we are having the representatives give us, because I still see and acknowledge myself not only as a resident of Linden, but an interested party to find out what is really taking place in our communities across Region 10, and in particular Linden, as we just had our mayor and deputy mayor who made their presentations, capturing the issue of local governance at the level of the ministry. We heard some of the challenges coming from the mayor, and at the level of meaningful consultation, which is provided for in our constitution, especially based on Article 13, to have the involvement of residents, especially through their representative, this being a representative democracy, to be involved in those decisions that impact their lives. So it's good to hear the challenges coming from the mayor and deputy mayor with regards to the issues of managing the town in particular. But we'll go now to the deputy, the regional vice chairman, Mr. Mark Borin, to get some remarks from him. And we can get a wider perspective of issues, not only in Linden now. I know Mr. Borin is the, he's the one that is given on behalf of the council the sort of supervisory oversight of sub-region 2, which represents Kokwani and the Aichuni area. So, Mr. Borin, thank you very much.
As regional vice chairman, my direct responsibility is for the sub-region 2, Kokwani, Aichuni, and the riverine communities. And from my appointment to date, I've been meeting with residents of the sub-region, listening and addressing their issues and making the necessary representation for every resident, and seeking ways in how we can bring development to those communities. There was a void for effective leadership in the sub-region 2, and I'm happy that I'm able to so far partner with the residents and work with them to bring the necessary development that they may need. There's things that I can control and there's things that I cannot control. The things that I cannot control, I will make representation for, and the things that I can control, I will try my best to bring to the people of Kokwani. And Kokwani, for a person who may watch looking on and don't know, Kokwani is a village in the Borbis River that is part of Region 10. Most time they would refer to themselves as Region 11, meaning they are left on the outside when everything is happening in Linden. I want person to know that Region 10 is not Linden. Region 10 is a vast region, having all three, the only region with the three main rivers running through, bordering its boundaries. And Kokwani is that beautiful little village located up in the upper Borders River, Aichuni, midway between Linen and Kokwani, Paraimo, Uru, and all those other villages right down to Sanyas and Defend. There's a number of things happening in Kokwani. Kokwani, particularly, there's a lot of issues. I just going to touch on a few, just give an overview. One of the most sore issues is the urgent need for improved delivery of social services. A very poor quality service being extended to the people there. Pension, especially for pension and public assistance. And we are calling from since we enter into council in 2020 for effective and efficient delivery of these services, especially the pensioners' pension book. The pensioners would complain, and that is my first complaint that I received when I went to Kokwani as regional vice chairman. The pensioners complain that now most of them have to travel to Linden to pay the pension, and when they do the calculation, it's $8,000 from the meager sum they're currently receiving. And so that is a sore issue for them. And public assistance, a lot of course complain that the Board of Guardian could have done a re-evaluation of the person assistance. And many of them would have been removed. I saw a child beforehand who used to receive public assistance, and the mother, is distraught of her daughter is not receiving that public assistance anymore, and she had to go back and forth until she get to her daughter was replaced on that list, right? That is one of the issues that is affecting them. We have, of course, our teachers. If person would have followed my Facebook live, my Facebook page, they will notice I would have posted a video of the condition that we take our teachers from around this country and bring them in Kokwani to live under, right? Whereby they live in, I was appalled. I was appalled when I see teachers living in a room with no windows, absolutely no window, no AC. They have a fan, and whatever that fan circulate, I saw teacher and the kid in that room. So whatever the kid and his mother breathe past during the night, during the day, that is what they does circulate in that room. And that is one of the issue I've been trying to address ever since I'm there, and we're gonna have to address it ourselves. If the administration who have the finance to execute these things does not do it, well then I will have to get the residents and personally go and do it. Just put a window so the teachers can have fresh air, right? Water. They have a trestle there with tanks, and the teachers can't access water from the pump burn, and no one is going to replace it. In fact, the person that we take in to go and do this work, based on the information I received, they're doing slam dash work. And then the teachers left after one day the pump work and nothing else. And they have to go to school, teach the children, and time themselves. If they have extra lessons, they have to go back because pipe man at 5 in the afternoon and cut off at 8. So it's hectic for them. So in terms of moving our teachers from the coastland to the hinterland to teach our children, I think we should treat our teachers much better than we're currently teaching them. Of course, we have the issue with the primary school where it's still overcrowded. Some additional classrooms would have been started by the residents, and then the administration came in and finished off a few, but it's still overcrowded. This year, we're pushing for us the budget for a new wing of that school so that we can address the need of the learning loss that the children would have experienced over the last 3 years.
Please, can you also make somebody needs to mute their mic, please? Can you all please remember to keep our mics mute? Thank you very much. You can go ahead, Mr. Warren. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is it with our children. We're looking at it so that we can bring our children on par. So far, Kokwani Primary School, they are logging at the bottom of the list in terms of the education, the children performance, and that's due to them being having 3 years of learning loss, whereby they was operating on a rotation basis. And it's sad to see how long it takes to really deal with that situation. However, with our dedicated teachers, we hope that those children can come on par with the rest of the country. There's other issues in terms of the building that the staff have to utilize at Pokwani currently is unsupervised and lack basic equipment such as computer and printing materials and so on. Well, I can say this, one of the most appalling issues that I find here, it is washroom for that building. I haven't taken up the office, but I have been present in Pokwani on the ground because the office currently doesn't have a functioning washroom. A contract was awarded to someone, I was told, by one contractor, Orin Wilson. I think that person currently is the Prime Minister rep under the coalition, I believe in 2018 or something. That person was given a contract to do an extension to that building, whereby the requisite washroom facilities and so would be placed inside so that staff can be comfortable. The vice chairman, the ARU will have a place of comfort. Currently, I have another video. I'll have to release that video also to show a person to see that the condition, the building is left unfinished by that contractor. And the condition right now is if you flush the toilet upstairs, it comes downstairs in the kitchen. That is a condition. And we have our administrator from the regional executive officers and other officers, engineer, who's supposed to executing these projects. These things been reporting. I have a report here since November 2025, November the 25th of November 2020. On our first visit, when the first vice chairman, Mr. Douglas Gittins, our dearly departed brother, would have visited there and recorded these issues. And we are in 2023, and it hasn't addressed yet. And we have officers who are concerning themselves with stuff like Mashimani, to where the rope must go. We have engineers who is fighting up themselves with contracts or however they do it, wherever corruption they're in, I don't know. It has been reported to me. And all manner of things, public servants who are supposed to executing the duties, they are fighting themselves with entering the local government election and all these different manner of things. And I point that out to say that most time person point their finger at the politician. I want person to know that most time the public servant who's been paid to execute these duties, when we would have made recommendation, I would have finished these reports and submitted them and make recommendations so that they can execute. They're not executing these jobs. They're doing their own thing and fighting up with politics and looking for political coverage when they're doing wrongdoings. So they're trying to get involved in all these different stuff. So we want to make sure that these things being provided. Nevertheless, on Pokwani, I think as a overview, we leave the rest for questioning. I'm also the chairman of the agriculture committee. There's a couple of agriculture issues that we have to deal with. But nevertheless, I will hand over back to Mr. Sharma Salman so that the regional chairman could do his part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, VC Gorin. And again, I hope that we are capturing some of the issues that are reported by our officials. And in capturing that, I hope that we are able to ask the more pointed questions so that more will be extracted as it relates to our dialogue this afternoon. I'd like to now call on the regional chairman, Mr. Deran Adams, who will give us his remark.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, colleagues. I hope you can hear me clear. Can somebody confirm that you're hearing me?
Yeah, we're hearing you quite well.
Thank you. So I'm pleased, of course, to join you for this important public meeting. And as we proceed, I am sure that we will all have due regard for the critical importance of our discussion, and that we'll be able to enlighten and bring to light many of the things that are being asked by our constituents, and of course to debunk the propaganda that is oftentimes disseminated, the disinformation through NCN and other media houses. Let me say at the onset that there are serious developmental projects that the coalition government, the APNU AFC, would have been pursuing for the people of Region 10, that we have been over the past 3 years trying our best to ensure that those projects were continued, that there was a smooth transition. And so our attempt here is to one, bring into focus all of the projects that are currently hanging that have not yet been completed, several projects that speaks to the development of our region, and also to exert the necessary pressure to the administration of the day. The government is seeking to suggest, ladies and gentlemen, that they are developing a one Guyana. But when you look at all that is happening, all we are seeing is divisive politics. The government has been discriminating against the people of Region 10 strategically and intentionally, simply because this is an opposition stronghold. We have seen, and I have been speaking on several programs, when simple things like hampers and other things come to the region, how they are being politicized. Recently, we had to deal with the cash grant distribution because they have now politicized the Small Business Bureau and they have removed professional people while placing political people to head these boards. And many of you would have heard, and later on we will discuss. I'm prepared to field questions. But the many projects that the coalition government would have left, I speak here of the commencement of the work on the Linden to Lethem Road. And many of you know that attempts were being made to pull that project, and it was pressure from the state government that forced the government, after a submission was made by former Minister David. For some reason, phone keeps getting mute. I don't know why. But nevertheless, several projects that the government of the day inherited, there are attempts still to either slow those projects up or attempts were made to remove them from the budget. I can give you 3 points. I mentioned the road from Linden to Buro, which the feasibility study started under the coalition, and it was approved, 55 million sterling pounds. And the government attempted, they would have said to the UK government that that is not a priority for them. The UK government informed them that if they do not proceed with the road, they were pulling the funds back from them, and they were not going to just allow them to, do as they please with it. We would have also seen that the government refused. We would have made a submission for a new RDC building, a project that started under the coalition government at Spikeland on the border there with Retrieve. This government removed the project from our budget, and they are forcing our staff, many of the people who are under their direct employ, to work in under the most unfortunate circumstances. Sewage, feces backing up into the accounts department, water leaking on many of the critical documents for schools, etc. And so this cannot be a government that has your best interests at heart. I remember in the Berbice River, a resident there saying to me that, regional chairman, there can be no development under a PPPC government for Region 10 because our people are being targeted strategically and intentionally, as I said. You will hear, and I hope that there are persons on this live, because under the coalition, we increased the public assistance for the most vulnerable people, people who can't help themselves, by over 800. This government came into office, they installed a board. All 8 members of the board are of East Indian descent in a predominantly Afro-dominated region. And what they have been doing is taking people off of the public assistance program. These are people who, when you look at them, you recognize that some of them can't help themselves. A woman who suffered from a stroke being removed. A man who his left arm was severed, removed, and being told to go to the town council and other agencies for a loan. This is the level of discrimination that we intend to highlight to you. We would have made a proposal, and the feasibility study was already completed for the upgrading of the Linden Suicide Highway. As you know, in 1992, the government, the then government, the Desmond Hyde government, had left monies for the upgrading of the highway, and it was never done. Again, in 2016, sorry, a feasibility study was done once again for the upgrading of the highway. We had already started the installation of lights along the highway when we were cheated out of office. We had completed the feasibility study for a bridge across the Demerara River here. You know the congestion that many of our people face. And we had started to look at the study of the upgrading of a port facility at Christiansburg there at the alumina plant. And so all of these projects, inclusive of the airstrip, the upgrading and the resuscitating of our airstrip here in Linden, have all been placed on the back border, like was the synthetic track. Yet we had no other person than the Minister of Finance in the National Assembly stating that the synthetic track at Linden was completed. And when we showed the evidence via press conference that it was not, it was only at that point we saw the minister fly to Linden and attempted to start putting out the material there, using the state media, as I said, to send out this information. Our aim today is, of course, to educate you on what has been happening in the region. We haven't even touched on the tip of the iceberg. I know many persons, I was in the barbershop just yesterday, and many persons, one guy asked me to list the things that occurred under the coalition, and I'll be happy during this segment to list. We agreed that we could not complete all of the initiatives that we wanted to. But I want to remind persons that the coalition in 2018 was, of course, a no confidence motion came, which suspended their ability to spend monies. And so it curtailed many of the projects. But we have documented programs and projects that transformed lives, projects that created what was called decentralized services for the people of Region 10, that you no longer have to go and line up in Georgetown at the passport office. And so we started to create jobs, and I will speak to all of the programs that we launched. The National Data Management Agency, where over close to 100 million was going to be injected into this region. This government has closed it. They have closed the nursing school in this region alone, while nursing continues in regions 1 to 9. And so there are many persons here who are not privy to all of this information, and this is what this program seeks to do. It seeks to, of course, educate you, and of course, to dispel the disinformation. Many of you, I know, asked questions about the Mashramani celebrations here in Linden, and I'm prepared to answer questions, because we sat as a committee with the police, planned our activities, and 3 days before the activity on March 5th here in Linden, NCN was used to send out disinformation by elements in the government. And so they started to spread the narrative that there was a Mashramani going to Christiansburg. At no time did the committee and the police endorse any position of Mashramani going to Christiansburg. They claim they love this region. And so what they did is, rather than have in the birthplace of Mashramani send at least 10 of the floats to Linden, while even if they wanted to send the other set to Berbice, they sent all of the floats to Berbice. They are service providers in Linden. We are trying to empower people, and they are withholding the resources. The REO has refused to sign the payments of several service providers. The DREO drove away with the meals for our revelers. And that is why you saw on the video, we took the water and the juice out from the pickup, because they were attempting to drive away with all of the meals and the water for our revelers. As you know, we inherited a society that was broken pre-2015. The PPP would have used violence, division, the political patronage, and the instilling of fear in the population over the 23 years of their rule. And we have seen a return of that, where many of the people who are aligned to them are being granted license to firearms, that they can, out of anger and frustration, shoot a family member in his head that now has a murder charge, a close affiliate of the governing party. We have seen a reemergence of gangs in our school. We have seen a reemergence of death squads. And when the police are asked to investigate, cameras are shut off on the street. So what we have now, ladies and gentlemen, as was the case with the many gangs that were reported in Region 10, is a hopeless population among especially our youth. And I ask that you take some time and you pray for our youth. Finally, this government is using political handouts and cash distribution. Yes, it is well documented, and we oftentimes say to our people, take it. Because if you don't take it, they will take it. But it is unsustainable, and it cannot be passed to the next generation. Our programs under the APNU were structured, and there was always a plan in place for continuity, for transition. So we trained persons in the Bertram Collins Public and the Public Service, and over 184 were employed, working at the RDC, working at other institutions. They closed that program down. We trained young people in patient care assistant program. Over 60 of them were trained in Region 10. They used Rudy Small to send issue dismissal letter, and they have started to fire our young people. As it is right now, we are losing persons with the institutional memory in our health sector. Over 100 nurses have already resigned and are now working in the UK. Close to 30 doctors have either asked to be relocated to another region or they have to have resigned. And so we are in a sad state. We have seen on the day when the final feasibility study was being done for the region for the upgrading of the road from Linden to Lethem, that the CEO at the time placed handcuffs on the gate to agitate our people, locking babies out, a woman who had to do a surgery from the health facility. While in Region 6 and other areas, none of this occurred. And so we believe that the region is being targeted intentionally and strategically. I ask our people to be mindful, be very careful with handouts and cash grants. I will say to you, take it, but understand, because if you don't take it, they will thief it. We have seen in the past couple of months how many projects, billions of dollars in projects are going to one ethnic group. One ethnic group, billions of dollars. And so I want persons to know that the current administration's political system of giving handouts to our people cannot be described as empowerment, because it doesn't empower our people with the necessary skills and survival skills that is needed. We taught you to fish, and that is why we would have seen a reduction in crime, in criminal activity. We would have seen persons being empowered. In the LEND program, we invested $150 million into small businesses. When this government assumed office through illegal means, they shut the LEND program down. All of the boards, the most important boards in our region, the one that deal with empowering our people by giving them access to funding in agriculture, etc., they have stopped the board from its operation. The one that deals with the health of our people, the Linden Hospital Complex, for the past 3 years has been without a board. And that is why it allowed the CEO of the hospital, Rudy Small, to make unilateral decisions. And even the current CEO that is active continues to make unilateral decisions rather than having a board in place to hold the CEO accountable. Many of you may not, but during the protest action where Rudy Small made distasteful comments to our nurses, many of them who picketed him, their salaries were cut to $300 Guyana for a 3-month period. Not 300 US, 300 Guyana dollars, over 100 nurses. Their salaries was, and we have the pay slip of those persons. And so this is what has been happening in the region. There are many other things that I can say to you. This government would have inherited an economy that was growing at 45+%. All of the initiatives that the coalition government executed during its tenure was done without oil money. And so there is no need, 3 years after, why teachers can't receive a salary, why we cannot have structured programs of cash distribution going to farmers across the region. Why we cannot see training in the nursing sector. And so we believe that our region is being targeted strategically and intentionally. We would have said in the area of sports, and I would have held a press conference. The president came to Linden 24 hours after. We said to him that we note the error in your statement that the Mackenzie Sports Club ground is being upgraded to ICC standard. In our consultation, 90% of the people in this region embrace football, and so it was expected that the ground would have been upgraded to FIFA standard. We also presented to them that the field opposite Mackenzie High School, the premier school in our region, could be upgraded to ICC standard. And we also asked that they expedite the synthetic track at Linden, because Region 10 has been dubbed the talent basket of the region. It took the coalition government in 2015 to activate the process to bring that developmental project to the region. Rather than looking at a structured way and looking at which communities are practice sports and athletics, they took the synthetic track when they built it to Lenora, in the birthplace of the current president. And so they are playing politics rather than looking at the needs of our people, having an assessment done, and allocating resources to our people. We have to call it out. MCN, I did a 1-hour interview with them, only to be told that they lost the recording. And so we will use innovative measures, channels just like this one, to meet with our people. We know that the COVID is still in the air, and we must thank the coalition government for the vision to build the hospital, the COVID-19 hospital at Liliendal. At the time when we handed over that facility, we had recorded just about 23 deaths. Today, we have recorded over 1,000 deaths because of the mismanagement of COVID. And so, while I know that there are persons who are seeking to have us interact with them one-on-one, we continue to ensure that, especially our senior citizens, we are cognizant that we are mindful that we want to make sure that they are looked after. We are not going to be the ones to take control of the Darfur home and throw our senior citizens material out, all the craft that they would have done in an attempt to turn the Darfur home into a COVID facility at Retrieve. And we're happy that the people of Retrieve stood up to them and we were able to fight them off. That is what we have been dealing with in this region. When your elected officials present programs in infrastructure, roads were being constructed under the coalition that are still standing. But there are roads that were built months ago, like the one in front of the hospital, Casarina Drive, that has deteriorated. And the road leading into West Watuka and several others where potholes have already been seen. And so we will call it out, we will educate you and bring this to your attention so that together we will take on these people and of course keep you in mind, because we were elected to serve you. I thank you.
If you can appreciate, as we all should, after such a presentation, the challenges. But I think I have already started to see some questions. And before we get to that, we have 2 more persons to bring remarks. And those will be our member of parliament. I've also recognized that on our feed this afternoon, we have our past member of parliament for the region, Ms. Vanessa Kisoon. I'd like to recognize her in the audience. But I'll now turn over to MP Figueroa, who is going to bring his remarks briefly.
Thank you, Comrade Chair, and all colleagues and residents at home and in the diaspora. This opportunity is an extension of the work that we have been doing in the community to bring awareness to the residents of Linden and the wider region 10 of what has been going on within the community. And I want the residents to know that this platform being used provides an opportunity for a wider cross section of the communities who we have not touched in the physical to be a part of being aware of what has been going on and providing them an opportunity to share their concerns. So additional representation can be put in areas that we probably did not uh, touch or recognize. And here is where the opportunity is being presented for residents to ask questions, give constructive criticism, and give solutions and ideas which we didn't thought of it as leaders that we should have. And we will welcome those ideas, those initiatives to make the representation that is required so that the lives of the residents of our community can be better. Um, I want to establish the fact that the residents and the leadership of Region 10 welcomes development in every regard. And more importantly, is because of the representation leadership of the community has been making. We have seen some levels of development. But it is important for us to understand and recognize that the elected officials who represent the interests of this region, their representation has not been accepted in totality. When the region put forward its budget after going to hills, the hills and the valleys of all cross sections of our community and identifying roads and identifying places that need light and buildings and bridges. And we put together our regional budget for the government to give consideration to. Sadly, our representation was not taken into serious consideration. The government gave us what they think is best. And that in itself is against the spirit of the Constitution. It is against the spirit of local democracy. And we will continue to speak out against these atrocities. We believe the government has a solemn responsibility to respect the wishes of the people. And more important, they want the people to rise to the consciousness and know that the government of the day are servants. It is the people who elect government officials who elect their representatives. And when you bestowed your power in those elected representatives, they are there to serve your interests. So when a minister or a MB comes to your community and say they're building you a road, they're not doing you a favor. They're doing what they are supposed to do. And once we come to that realization as a people, then these elected officials would be summoned to be of service to the people. So I want us as a collective to understand the power is not with the government per se. The power lies essentially with the people. And the people must demand from elected officials what it is that they want. And don't see it being done as a favor or the government likes you. They have to do what you as their um, masters say to do because they are elected servants. But the region in itself has been plagued with a plethora of issues that we continue to highlight, issues that we believe the public needs to know what has been going on. The chairman and the speakers before me would have rightfully provided some insights into the challenges that we are facing. For example, the education sector, it would have gotten one of the largest chunk of the largest budget in this country's history. And we have schools that have shortages of furniture. We have schools without staff rooms. We had just concluded end of term examination, and teachers and students had to pull pool monies to pay for the printing of test papers. And the violence that is occurring in school is something that we frown upon, and we call on the Ministry of Education and the police to be a little more stern in their approach to ensure that our teachers and our students are safe. Right here in the community of Wismore at Harmony Secondary School, where a support alleged gang ran into the school to, to attack a student and teacher. A stone throw away from the Wismore police station. the brazenness of some of these criminals is of great concern for us because if the police station is a stone throw away, arm's length away, and these people are aware of the proximity of the police station, but still have the audacity and the boldness to do some act of such nature and put the life and the limb of teachers and students at risk. It is most concerning within this community. And as leaders, we demand better service from our law enforcement officers and more so from the Ministry of Education with regards to our teachers. We want the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Labor to respect collective bargaining agreement and respect the Guyana Teachers Union in the proposal. And we demand that our teachers be paid far more, a better salary than they're being paid, given the consistent hardship of high cost of living. The chairman would have identified and raised the concern that he too would have shared with regards to public assistance. This community has a significant um, amount of unemployed people, particularly young particularly young people. And we believe that those persons who are desirous of public service, who are qualified for public assistance, should be given those assistance. The government came in here and they did a training program and skills training for some of our young people, and we welcome that. We wish that they would come and do more. But after the training and after those young people are qualified, what about access to grants so that they can start their own small business? Up to now, the millions of dollars that is in lend where funds would have been available under the coalition for young people and people who are desirous of being entrepreneurs could have gone and access those monies to start their small business. The community can no longer access those money 3 years later. And we're saying that the government has a responsibility to empower the people. And we are saying we want access to those funds. We want the same access as other regions are getting to grants so that they can start their small businesses. The allocation, the budgetary allocation for the region is for the region's development and is not just the infrastructural development, but the people's development. And we are saddened by the fact, and we would have raised this on numerous occasions, that more than 50%, I don't want to quote inaccurate, but I have been told by members of the RDC, more than 70% of the regional contracts are given to people outside of the region. That is totally unacceptable. If we are going to empower the people of Region 10, if we are going to provide employment opportunities for our people, then we have to award the contracts to the people in the region so that they can employ people within the region and the very people that the young people that were trained under the Ministry of Labor, they can exercise the skill that they would have garnered by not only bidding for contracts, but working for contractors in the region who would have won contract. So I don't want to continue to elaborate on the number of these issues. I would rather the questions be posed and the opportunities presented for us to respond. And even you who would have suggestions or even criticisms, we welcome it. Because as I would have indicated, we are here to serve the interests of the people, and we are not perfect. And obviously, we need advice, we may need guidance, and I believe once that is provided, we could better serve the wider public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MP Figuera. And again, moving quickly so that we can have your full participation, I will call on MP Sears to give us his brief remarks. Thank you very much, MP.
Thank you very much, Sharma, and of course to our viewing audience on Facebook and other social media platforms, and even the participants that we have here on Zoom. First of all, I want to say thank you for your continued support to the coalition, APNU, AFC. And while they have some naysayers or persons out there who are saying that the coalition is dead, it is not dead. We're more stronger than ever because of residents and supporters like you. Our leadership remains intact. And of course, we're constantly under attack. And to avoid those attacks, we have engagements such as these, where we can pull folks together, pull brilliant minds together, pull ideas together so that we can, of course, conquer the adversary. We continue to fight for equality and, of course, a better life for every Guyanese. And this includes even those in the diaspora as well. We continue to push the government for accountability and transparency. And of course, this is lacking throughout. One of the things that we have recognized as leaders is that there's a breakdown in leadership. There's a breakdown in respect of leadership. Of course, there are three tiers of government, the bottom one being local, regional, and then there's national. There seems to be no respect for local authorities, that being the regional chairman and the councillors, and the mayor and her councillors, because the government of the day continues to disregard elected officials. They are not consulted with them. And every decision that is made is either overturned or redirected in some other direction, of course. The leadership in our country should be a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach. We believe that we're heading into a dictatorial state whereby the government is telling its people what they want, not adhering to what the people need or what they require. And this is something that we need to address as a people. Some of the notable things that are happening across the country is that we see an increase in extrajudicial killings. Of course, going back from way during the 1990s, we see a manipulation of the judicial system whereby the government is using those judicial arms so to prosecute or go after our activists, and we are flagging that outright. We have recently noted the Guyana has been suspended from the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, and this is a big thing for us because our extractive sectors is one of the key pillars, economic pillars of our country, and if there's no transparency there, well, then that likely means, and that is an indication that there's corrupt activities. I mentioned about lack of consultation. Corruption is at its highest right now. We see the government going after trying to seek or possess ancestral lands, which is key, especially given the fact that those lands were bought by slaves. I was hoping that Evita Guerra could have touched a little bit on the Public Accounts Committee. We had flagged this since last year, whereby we said that with the change of the standing orders, the PPP and their absence will bring a catastrophic effect on the function of this committee. And that's one of the things that we're seeing happening right now. And of course, Parliament is on pause. It seems that the government is only going to Parliament when they can get a supplementary budget, or they're seeking to approve a supplementary budget. One of the largest budgets was passed in February, over $700 billion, to be exact, $789.1 billion was approved. And the regional chairman, along with his councillors and the budget committee, they would have submitted a proposed budget for $9.2 billion. And the government thought it best to reduce that by $3.3 billion. And that $3.3 billion would have affected a lot of opportunities, which would have provided or catered for better health care, mobility to serve the people, better delivery of education, and even a new regional democratic council's office. This was omitted completely from the budget. And of course, more access to road access and more bridges to be built. We continue to see an increase in poverty. In fact, the World Bank, in its updated fact sheet, they would have stated that Guyana's national poverty account is just living below $1,000 a day or $5 a day, which is one of the lowest in Latin America. And this here needs to be taken into consideration for the mere fact, and it must be highlighted, for the mere fact that we are not living a life or living a promised life that of course, the PPP would have purported. In terms of employment, we are at a low in employment in the region. One of our largest employers, which is Bosai Minerals, Guyana Inc., they employ currently about 580 persons, and then we have the public sector. But let's look at sub-region 2. The unemployment rate is very, very low. Most residents are depending on lumber, and because there is a great restriction in the forestry industry, they kind of produce a lot. So there's limitations when it comes to employment there. And of course, our party, APNU-AFC, continue to lobby for increase in wages, especially within the public sector. And there's a lot more work that needs to be done when it comes to that. Because if we're telling folks that they cannot go to the market and even afford to eat, well, then that will create a state of anarchy. In terms of educational opportunities, we have been pushing for either faculty or the University of Guyana's presence here in the region. This is something that we've been pushing every year after budget speeches after budget speeches. But to date, we don't have that. That has not been afforded to us. In terms of investment, there's no equality in terms of investment for Region 10. While we see Georgetown and along the coastlines and even as West Demerara and Berbice seeing a helm of investment opportunities being placed here, in Linden Region 10, there's no new major investment that is on stream right now. And the government might be claiming that, oh, we had the call center. The call center is an epic fail. Now, if you go in there right now, the amount of empty seats that you have there, it's ridiculous. And, our vision for employment was to bring the manufacturing industries here in Linden, which will create more opportunities. We were looking at the University of Guyana. We were looking to train more folks so that they could work in the oil and gas industry as well. In terms of where do we go from here, we continue to be dependent on the government. And I want to address something. Our leaders, wherever we have to go and get help and support for our people, we will go. Whether it be in some cases whereby we have to engage government officials, we will. If we have to engage the private sector, we will. Because we believe that the people must benefit from whatever opportunity that is out there. And not because of a political persuasion of who we are fully backing, of course, AP and UFC. We will not engage the other. I also want to share with you at this time that we are calling on every Lindener, every Region 10 resident, every Guyanese to join us as we continue to fight this regime. We don't have all the answers. That is why we have forums such as these, so that you can make your input. And I also want to say to you that as we continue to fight, we have to take back our constituencies, our community, our town, our region, our country, not for the sake of the present, but the future. And the future being our children, our great-grandchildren. Because as it is right now, we want to leave Guyana intact for when we would have passed from this life into the next one. So, ladies and gentlemen, I say thank you so much for your presence here today, and I'm looking forward for any questions that you might have. Sharma?
Thank you very much, MP Sears. To you, the audience, I think this now begins our second part of this program, which allows you to be fully involved to ask questions in surmising, bringing about the issues so far that we have discussed from the mayor and the deputy mayor. Their concerns of local democracy. I see questions are already coming in reference to what guidelines and authority under which the municipality functions, and based on that authority, what sort of actions outside of what is being taken now is also suggested. I think that question goes for each and every one of those who presented, that after 3 years and the concerns that are being expressed and the challenges that are faced, the question that I can pose to everyone, and as we go into the second segment, I think we can start with that very first question of all of the complaints that we've heard and the challenges we've recognized. Outside of the approaches or the approach taken by either councils of the RDC in the municipality and also our members of parliament, the question becomes, what else and what next? And I think we can leave that question and start the segment number 2. By those who are interested in asking any question, you can show by raising your hands, and we will recognize that and include you into the conversation. But we can start with that question. And it's open to go from the mayor to the chairman to either of our members of parliament. And then we'll entertain other questions. What, after 3 years, and the complaints and challenges that we have been faced with, are we prepared to do outside of what we've already been attempting? Thank you very much.
So good afternoon. I guess I'll start. As you're well aware, and I think one of the speakers said that the government is divided into 3 tiers. And of course, local government is the lowest tier of government. Another question would ask about our authority and what do we function under. The Mayor and Town Council functions under the Municipal and District Council Act 2801. And 2801 has portions inside that allows us to make policies and guidelines. But what is also there is that they have now been the implementation of the Local Government Commission, which supersedes the authority of the council. And therefore, the council has no authority to hire, to fire, to discipline. It has, if it has any financial decisions to be made, while it can be made by us, it must be sent to the Local Government Commission for a recommendation. And so we can recommend, and then it goes to the commission for them to approve or not. And that even goes to the policies we make. The policies we make on the ground, even though we make them as a policy here and we vote on them, they still have to go to the Local Government Commission as a recommendation for them to approve. And that is what stymies the work of the council. If we've been reading up a lot, we realize that the commission, the Local Government Commission, is made up of political parties. And the way in which it's slated, the sitting government will always have the majority of the votes on the board. And as such, that again limits what we do here, because therefore the commissioners will vote according to, most people are no longer voting and leading in our country according to the needs of the people who elect them, but they're leading according to the political party for which they sit. And so, of course, whatever we do here, that recommendation must come from the Local Government Commission, and that hinders all that we can do. And that's one of the reasons why when I talk about there's not much we can do here as local government. And so we really are heavily dependent on our RDCs and on our member of parliament who will argue for us at the national level to see how we can change the constitution of us so that we can move forward. I'll hand you over to the next person who wishes to add to this.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I don't know who else would like to. I know that answers the first part of the question of the authority, but I still would like to know, would like to take up the question of after 3 years and the challenges that we face, as we've just heard from our representatives. Is there any change of direction in how we approach in our respective councils and even at the level of the parliament? As we just heard that parliament is not necessarily delivering the way that those in the opposition communities and regions, and even in general to the people of Guyana, should be receiving those assistance. So that question still remains on the floor. Is there a different approach? Are we taking some different action? And if so, what are they, if you don't mind saying to the people? That's a question.
So Sharma, let me just answer from my perspective here at the RDC. Say to you that one, we have taken steps and via this platform to first of all educate our people on what is happening. Oftentimes, a rosy story is painted, and persons, of course, are fed the propaganda. So we are educating our people, one, on the challenges that we are faced with. Two, we have been engaging the international community and sharing with them all that has been happening in the region. In the area of the RDC here, you have an REO, a regional executive officer, who via letter said that he doesn't take lawful directions from the government, from the RDC, the council sorry. This is despite the Attorney General is on record as saying the legal mind for the government that the REO execute lawful decisions of the council. And so many of the decisions, for example, what happened on March Day, the withholding of resources from Londoners, 70% of all contracts going to people of one ethnicity and people from outside of Linden. We have to educate you, and we, of course, will utilize several options that are available to us, inclusive of legal action, to deal with the situation that we are faced with, right? I want to encourage all of the persons who are here while I'm mentioning to take the opportunity to stop and like the RDC page, because it is only when you follow us directly you will be able to see what is happening in Region 10. The budget is a simple process. It flows from the consultation with our people. We went into the fields, all the communities. The only community that we have not visited as yet is Great Falls, and we intend to do that soon. And we document and record what are the concerns of the people, whether it is drainage, lights, infrastructure works in general. Same thing goes for health, same thing goes for agriculture, same thing goes for education. On a recent walkabout just a week ago, we had to deal with a situation where an electrical wire was placed in close proximity to a nursing school. And so these are basic things. We have been recording and reporting. This is a document here that was submitted to the administration of all the issues affecting schools across the region. Rather than the REO focus on executing the lawful decisions given to him, he can be seen at every function for photo ops and sitting at the head table where his own people don't even recognize him. And so these are the challenges in the area of agriculture, for example. Let me just say this. We sat as a committee, listened to our farmers. One of the most pressing issue is that farmers have an issue getting water to their land, feed their pigs, etc. Those who are involved in poultry rearing. They want water to their farm land. We identify hotspots where they can find water. Submitted a policy document, as you can see here, on how to execute it. What is required? Did our research, we had our technical people advise us, and we submitted it for it to be executed. 3 years now. Well, sorry, this one was this policy document came out in 2021. No action. Yet farmers continue to complain of the challenges. And so, as I indicated, while we are being locked out from the state media, from 104.3, they don't want us to go on the radio, we will now activate the process. And that's why I encourage you to like our page. We will use bottom house meetings. We will make it a statutory date for these meetings to be aired so that you can share it with family and friends, so that they can also be privy to all that is happening in the region. The RDC is between a rock and a hard place. Right now in Linden, I'm seeing on MCN that there's a football tournament happening in Victory Valley. We submitted a proposal for funding for youth sports and culture to this region since I became regional chairman. Rejected, no funding. We asked for funding to be provided for persons with mental health issues. Rejected. So for support for women in difficult circumstances, rejected. And so what we have done as well, rather than educate you, we have launched what is called the Regional Economic Advancement Partnership Program. And many of you, if you follow the RDC page, you will see that when they deny us funding for the Center for Children with Disability or to assist children with disability, we now are happy to say that there is an independent group, OMAT, the Overseas Medical Assistance Team, who is funding the construction of the Center for Children with Disability. When they deny us funding for programs like mental health and teenage pregnancy and young people who are in difficult circumstances. We reached out to the US Embassy and we ran programs in partnership with Safe Guyana, Sexual Assault and Family Education, that organization, and we are getting resources. Recently, there are schools who have been reaching out to us where there are teachers and students who are going into the bin and accessing food. They don't have meals. This is how tight. And so we have reached out to an organization and they are coming on board to help. In the area, I just went with the Food for the Poor organization and we were able to donate sewing machines to the cloth and textile unit of the school at Wisburg. And we intend to reach out to other stakeholders in the diaspora to assist us. Right? And so that is what we will utilize. We will stop depending on this government because they have failed. And we believe that we will only be able to benefit and through an equitable development, we'll only be able to come to our region only if there's an APNU AFC government in place.
Additionally, if I can add to what was contributed, another issue is that the local government commission is too politicized. And because it is politicized, it is usurping the authority of the council. And as the chairman would have indicated, we have REOs who are political appointees who are executing the directive of their political masters that is contrary to Chapter 28 to 1, who give guidance to the council. And as far as I'm aware, the party has taken this matter to court. I cannot give a pronouncement with regards to where it is in the courts, because what you should be made aware that the Judicial Service Commission has not yet been implemented, and there's a need for more judges to be appointed. And because the Judicial Service Commission has not been activated, we can't appoint judges. So the present judges' caseloads are so overwhelming for them that the important issues that affects a large section of the population cannot reach their case based on the case management. They have to wait their turn because, as you were following, the Chancellor and the Chief Justice said too much time for action, and the needed Judicial Service Commission to be put in place so that more judges can be appointed. So the matter is also gaining the attention of the court. But besides that, we continue to bring these revelations to a wider public so that the public can be made aware of what is going on, so that they too can have a better understanding and help us fight the cause.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know if anyone else wants to.
Yes, Chairman.
The question is, after 3 years, I know the chairman said, which is very important and critical, we're educating. I know the member of parliament said that some of the matters are before the courts. Is there anything else that the representatives of the people in the community, the region, RDC, municipality, and parliamentary representatives, is there anything else? So you've spoken about 2. Is there anything else?
Yes, of course, Sharma. And this thing here is, I must say, it's not as complex as we might want it to be, right? That we might want it to be. The power lies in the people. The people to elect their leaders, right? Well, in the case of the last election, that wasn't quite so. But we as a people, at this point, at this juncture, we must get organized. And organized meaning that we need to have more sessions like this. And like we committed since in January, we will have more engagements. We've had several walkabouts in various communities. We noticed that Andyville said that they need a visit. We will go to Andysville. We'll go as far as Timbuktu, wherever it takes us. But getting organized, and then we have to strategize, which is number 2. Strategizing meaning that we need folks who have ideas, who have influence, who have authority, who have resources to come in and contribute towards this movement. And we call it a movement because we're taking back what was taken from us, illegally taken from us. And then with the mobilization part, we are going to go to the Borbies River, Demerara River, Escriva River, every corner of this region and spread the message. What is the message? The message is unity, equality, all those that are aligned with having a good life in Guyana. And then we're going to deliver on whatever promise or whatever commitment or whatever is within our grips to deliver to those people. So again, organize, strategize, mobilize, and we're going to deliver. And I hope this here sums up what we have been saying already.
Thank you, MP Sears. We'll go straight into the participants that are in our forum. I recognize Mrs. Haywood Armini. You can unmute and have your question. I'll ask just before we go, however, that we try to keep our questions very tight questions and not necessarily comments, because we really want to get as much questions in this forum from you, the residents. So if you can keep it to at least a minute, at least, we would be very grateful for that so that more can participate and we can have more questions asked. And in fact, if you do it in such a quick manner, we can take maybe 2 to 3 questions before we have the panelists who will participate make their comments. So, Mrs. Haywood, thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. If I sound funny, it's because I went out last night and I was under the speakers, so my ears is kind of still ringing. Added to that, I just ran up the stairs. Okay, so I live along the Winifred Gaskin Highway, and it's been my concern for about the stalls that's blocking my entrance. I've gone to the mayor, and quite frankly, Madam Mayor she didn't know what to say to me. And I am very concerned about that. And it's not only that, it's people from outside of Linden, and that stretch there's nobody from outside of Linden, but there's people that's not even living in Half Mile that's blocking me from getting in to where I want to put my driveway, namely the guy that's doing the woodwork. Just last night, I think not long ago, I saw an accident along that same Winifred Gaskin Highway.
Accident?
Yes, could I finish, please? An accident along the Winifred Gaskin Highway, closer to Four Corners, right? And it damaged stalls on the highway. So I want to know who's responsible for stopping those people from building there. Those people, in fact, would not have support if the council doesn't take their money, and if water is not supplied to them, also electricity. So that's it for me, at least for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Armini. And we can take 2 more questions, because I think that one question dealt with not only illegal structures, but it dealt with illegal construction ongoing, not only in front of Mrs. Haywood's premises, but I believe generally Linden would like to know from the municipality in relation to illegal structures that we see are going up, zoning in relation to those structures, especially in communities such as Amelia's Ward, and what the municipality is doing. So we can take maybe 2 more questions quickly. Thank you very much. And maybe, and we'll just ask, I see someone with the iPhone having their hands up, so you'll have to give us your name and then proceed to your comments.
My name is Art Kingston. Born and raised in Linden, Middle Road. And I'm hearing everything that is going on. But what I'm not seeing, I was home for 2.5 months. How could you guys get the people more involved? Because I'm not seeing the people coming out. And I'm making this an example. For the sports club, where is the soccer players? Where is the athletes? Where is the schools? Where is the people who are going to be using this place? How could we get, and there's just an example I'm giving, but how could we get the people involved when we give this information out, that they could come out and show, because they just elect you, but they also have to show themselves. How could we get them involved? Another thing, I was in Guyana for 2.5 months, and I don't know who oversee they building the bridges. A bridge build in Middle Road. Now they build the side of the drain up. Now before they break that bridge and build a bridge to reach the road, they build a bridge on top of that bridge. Now when the water is coming up from the hill to down, anything that will be there can be blocking that water, anything from going out because the bridge was not built properly. That's my question, my Mumba. But the most important is why we're not seeing the people.
Thank you very much, sir. And one more question we can take. I believe your question dealt with the involvement of and the participation of more of our community. And I think it's more a three-part question: the involvement, why they're not being involved, and also oversight of some of the construction works that are taking place. I know the RDC is with a works committee that is also part of the involvement of these works. So one more question before we go to answering by our respective representatives. Empty series? Someone with your hands up? No? All right, well, I'll ask the representatives to quickly...
Comrade Chairman, may I please add that while sitting in the office of the mayor, I looked up and I saw her ceiling falling apart. So, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but can you please update us also on what's going on with that? Because for public office, you are not sitting right, sister.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Haywood. And the first question to the municipality, I believe, would be then those structures and zoning with regards to those structures and illegal construction work taking place. Thank you very much, madam. Can I hear you properly, Madam Mayor? Can you?
I pulled my. Tell me if you hear me now.
Yes, we are.
All right. So I'm starting with the issue as Ms. Glenn has referenced, and then you remind me as we go along if there's anything else. I want us to understand that this municipality has inherited problems that were long before our time that was not dealt with. That's one issue. The second issue is, especially to the young man that Ms. Glenn referenced, based on our research, the young man's project was a government project. And the intention was it was a community project where he would assist young men and women who are out of school to learn joinery based on our knowledge. That's two. I am not aware of how many persons on that road who were illegal. I know we've identified one, but for most of the persons who were there, they were previously given approval by past councils to occupy the space of land. The information given to us is this. When houses were given along the 1 Mile Road, there's over a 30 feet reserve. And the reason why the decision was made to put shops along the area was the fact that 10 feet in front of everyone's yard is their reserve. And so the other remaining was given to the council, and the council had authorized those persons. While we understand that there are issues in terms of blockage to persons' entrances, as Ms. Glenn has, and there are other issues, for example, persons running off the road into those areas and other people being affected, it takes a process for us to turn back and to remove persons. The other thing I'd like to say that's a bit, I hope that it's taken in good faith. We have tried in this council to stop illegal vending. We have written to people, we have gone to their stalls, we have taken our security, and sadly we were in a fight with our own people when we turn up to remove people. I have securities who are afraid to go because we went to Amelia's ward when it first started and we wanted to move those persons. Councillors came out with residents and fought against our people. hit our security in their heads. And this is our people. If we have got to love Linden enough that when we talk about change, all of us want to see that change. And when we go on the ground to get the work done, the people support us to get the work done. Now, Amelia's Ward is in a state where an entire corner has become a marketplace. Outside of that, in an attempt to remove that, the council spoke with the Central Housing and Planning Authority for the land opposite the radio station in Amelia's Ward. And we were given all intent and purpose that we were going to get that land, and that we were going to clear the land, we were going to issue everyone a letter, and then we'd move them to the space. Today, that land was taken back and is now being used by Mr. Shanghai for a building expo. And it's hoped that after that building expo is over, then maybe the council can reapply for that plot of land. We have reached out to the government for 4 plots. One on the half-mile roadway, one in Wizrock, because Wizrock, if you turn the entrance of Wizrock, there's another heavy buildup of persons up there, and some on the central Mackenzie and Caracaro, because we realize that every person wants to come to the center. We've received finances for those plots, which will be cleared this year, and hopefully once it's cleared and we give people their formal letters, persons will willingly, understanding the issues that we're creating in our town, will willingly take the opportunity to go into an organized space. But we are well aware of our people in Linden. We're well aware of their behaviors and their reactions. And we are well aware of general human being and our difficulty in to change. And so it becomes all of us who have got to decide that this is what we want to do for the betterment of Linden. And to look out for our persons. If you're blocking for me, I say if you want to create a store and a shop, do it in front of your yard, that area which belongs to you. And you cannot be comfortable affecting somebody else. And so it's not that the council is not working. We are trying our best, but there's a lot of pushback. And we'll continue to do as. We're really hoping that we're able to complete those sites before half the year is gone, and therefore we can move those persons off of our roadways and into organized spaces.
Madam Mayor, may I object, please? I am absolutely not satisfied because you guys are still accepting rent from those people. They are being fed electricity and they're given water. And those are the 3 necessities that you need to function. If those things are cut off, then I believe that's a start. Thank you for my criticism.
Thank you very much, Mrs. David.
Mr. Moderator, Mr. Solomon.
Yes.
May I contribute to this discussion? Look, like the mayor said, we would have inherited certain things from the council. And I remember clearly in 2016 that GRA went after some of these illegal businesses because none of them had the relevant documents to do business. So when they came to the council, we stand in representation of some of those businesses and said, because some of these persons were there for a number of years, maybe 10, 15, 20 years, where they would have built their lives on. We cannot just stay and just shut down those persons. So we said, look, we can curtail this whole action and try to build anew. And so we asked people, look, let's do this thing in a responsible way for those persons. I think that we said 10 or more years. We'll try and see if we can work, give them the permission document, and let them work and get a permission document, say they can do business legally. Let me tell you some other things. In terms of the water and light, this council took a responsible position where we call GWI, we call LEI and LUCSL. And we said to them, unless anyone can produce to you a document showing the council would have approved you vending at this location, that person should not be given that utility services. I think the only agency that stuck to that is GWI. LUCSL and LEI, they said they are doing business. Initially, they had agreed with us, this is what we're going to do. But people showing up at these agencies with all manner of documents, and nobody's taking a responsible position to call the council and said, Mr. X is here. Is he given approval to do business at X location? The council cannot work independently of other agencies, and that is why we want to network with these people to say if we want to build a place that shows some kind of proper structure, then all inclusive. It's not the total responsibility of the council. And unless people see themselves as part of development, then we will have proper development. The amount of challenges that this council have, like I said in my opening statement, it needs a buy-in and cooperation from the general public, from the government, from public sector, and everybody involved. Because right now, this council and the councils are functioning as if they have no authority. You could imagine you have employees on the council compound that is fighting and pulling knives and cutlass, and then tomorrow those two persons are on the job in the same space. And this is not the council's position. We talked to the administration several times to take immediate action and not to depend on a commission who has no interest and is totally remote from all the actions on the ground. But you know what happened? Because they are protected by the commission, everybody feels they could do whatever they want. If we said about illegal businesses, for all those persons who would have given permission, if we said bill a 10 by 10, and we come and remeasure and you see you get a 10 by 15 or 20 by 20, we are going to charge you and it has fixed amount for your extra space that you encompass. We said that for those persons who are vending illegal, to break them down. And then the administration, this is not the responsibilities of the council. We would have made decision. That is why we decided to put the council meeting on Facebook so people to see our discussions virtually. That is why all the council statutory books, we ask people to come in and ask for the statutory books. We invite people to the council's meeting. And in terms of pushback, again, I remember there's a vendor in Patara Road that's selling and causing a lot of issues to not only the fellow vendors, but members of the public. And when the council went there to move him, people from the market came out and stood against the council and tell the council we're going to do it could cause a riot. And again, I'm saying, look, people don't understand the struggles, the challenges, and everything that this council is being faced with. And so when individuals may have problems and feel that those issues are not being dealt with or not being dealt with in a timely manner, some of those same pushback, it could be from a neighbor, a friend, or people who just want, or selfish people. And unless we become selfless, we will see Linden running on this treadmill of we simply cannot cooperate to make Linden a better place or to make it the place that we wanted to see.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. But we still have the second question on the floor, which goes to the level of participation from the general public. And though we heard earlier of the challenges of information dissemination through the one TV station policy, I think the question is still relevant as to what else is being done to get people more involved and what councils are doing and what the members of parliament are in terms of information dissemination doing to get people involved.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Sharma. So let me say this, and I want to once again take the opportunity to ask everyone. We have close to 100 persons on the Zoom. I want to take the opportunity to ask them to stop off, go and like the Facebook page of the RDC. Now, we have been experiencing over the past 3 years a very dangerous move by the administration, which I indicated earlier, which is to target our people strategically and intentionally. The question is asked why we are not seeing our people. The government has been threatening many of our public servants and utilizing the resources of the state and their position to manipulate many of our people. They are further using staff within, for example, the RDC, the various departments, to engage in political work. And if you look at the video on MASH Day here in Linden, you would have seen where the RDC resources. Now the REO is the bearer of government assets. you would have seen where pickup trucks, pickup vehicles were used to block the road going where the marsh route was heading to Bayrock. And several of the staff of the RDC was used, and they were, of course, empowered in a negative way to carry out their illegal activities. And so I know that the Bible speaks to the fact that our people perish for lack of knowledge, and that is why we are employing innovative measures like this one to educate our people, to let them know that we will continue to make representation, just like we did with the nurses and eventually got Rudy Small out of our region. We will, of course, continue to educate you. We would have seen during the vaccination exercise when they wanted persons to participate and take mandatory, they had a mandatory position on vaccine, that our people riled up, they came out. But at the same time, what they were attempting to do was to force our people to block the bridge so that they can say to the international community why the road from Linden to Lethem should not continue. There is a clause in the document that said that for the developmental project to be executed and to go forward, which started under the coalition, that there should be stability in the region. And we believe that the reason why they are targeting this region so much is to deter investors, so that several projects that started, in fact, we have already seen them remove the Wisbro-Mackenzie Bridge from the budget, despite a feasibility study was done. And so they are also targeting many of the persons under their direct employ, persons at the RDC, persons in the education sector, persons in the CDCs. They have politicized the CDC groups, which should be community development council, where community persons are involved in submitting recommendations to enhance their community. They have politicized all of these things to the fact, even in the Civil Defense Commission area, this region was the hardest hit region. And in the 2022 floods, yet we see the president going to Region 9 and giving $1 million to each household. But when it came to Region 10, nothing was given.
Seems as though we have lost the chairman. Yes. And I would now ask anyone else who I see an iPhone indicating that they'd like to pose a question. And if you can, I see a Keyborn Singh and the iPhone individual. Can you just identify who you are for the iPhone person? And then we'll take on Miss Isint. So those will be our 3 questions for now. So operator, MP, can you unmute the iPhone person?
You can go ahead, unmute.
Yes. You can ask your question, whoever is with the iPhone. If not, we move to Mr. or Mrs. Singh, Keyborn or Keyborn. No? But we'll move on to
I came on this thing, I just have to raise my hand.
Yes, yes, Mr. Isent, you can go and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, my apologies. This my hand raised in error. Okay. I do have questions, but I will pose that question later.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to ask my question now.
No problem.
Based on the information given here, it's clear that the area doesn't have the best interest for Linden and the Linden people at heart. Is there a legal process for getting the REO removed from the office in Linden?
We'll take that question and then we'll move on. When we take, can we take one more question? The question on the floor at the moment is, I think maybe if you call it an addition to the first, what is being done? The question now is, with the RU in particular, what is being done based on him not carrying out the functions or the decisions that are made by the council, and what it is the council intends to do. I see the iPhone person on the floor. You can go ahead and ask the question, ma'am or sir.
That iPhone person already asked the question. They just forgot to take their hand on.
Okay.
Another question. Mr. Betron spoke about there's a need for meaningful consultation. Specifically towards the MSC ground. Was there meaningful consultation with the community representative, the MP, the mayor, and so on, with regards to what exactly is going to be done at the sports club ground? And did you guys saw the plan?
Good. So
now, and to add to that, and now that it's evident that it's going to be a cricket ground, what is the plan? Or what's the way forward to correct that?
Good. So we have two questions on the floor. One about the RU and what the RDC is doing about the fact that the RU is not executing the decisions coming out of council. And then we have another question in relation to consultation, and more so in particular Mackenzie Sports Club. And before we go, let me recognize, I see in the participants our opposition leader and leader of People's National Congress, Mr. Aubrey Norton. Let me just give recognition to that. And for those, let me just take one more question we can take from Mr. Hollingsworth before we go ahead with the REO and consultation matter. Mr. Hollingsworth.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Sharma. Good afternoon to the opposition leader, Mr. Norton, regional chairman, member of parliament, and other members here. I have my concern here is one is concerning the Blue Lake area. I recall, I think it was last year or the year before, I think it was last year, where an overseas Guyanese would have acquired a piece of land in that general area. And it was, if I'm correct, guys correct me because, you know, I don't have my file here with me. I'm actually out on the road and somebody remind me about the meeting. If I could recall, it was approved for her to carry out the operation she had in the area. And then we saw, I think we saw it being rescinded, and then I think they went into court over that. Coming from the regional chairman or the mayor's office, could we have an update on what is going on with that? And secondly, what is the region and the mayor and town council plan with the Blue Lake area? Are we going to see a Mohammed or a Kashif and I like calling it, forgive me for those who are. Are we going to see a Mohammed or a Kashif and Shanghai taking this lake, of which I think should be considered a national park, whereby it doesn't, you know, it shouldn't be privatized? Are we going to see some private entity take it over, or are we going to see this becoming a national park? So that's it. We need an update on that, and you know, what's the plan? Thank you, Mr. Sean.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Hollingsworth. So I don't see the chairman back on as yet, but this would have been a direct question to him, which would be the REO point from Mr. Singh.
Let me attempt to answer that question, if I may. Several responses. One, with regards to the people and coming out when they have activities of picketing and such like. Now, we believe if you are against discrimination, if you're against racism, if you're against the government acting in a manner that is not pro-people, and you realize your leaders have decided to wage a protest to bring to the public's attention the atrocities of things that are anti the people, and we call on you to come out. For example, most recently, the issue with the Bosa employee being buried alive and then eventually dying, and the issue of finding his body. Myself, several other councillors and some residents in the community went out. We did a public Facebook Live. We call on the residents of the community because we believe that is, and it was, a very important issue for the people to come out. Yes, we had probably over 1,000 viewership on Facebook when the live started, and then eventually it grew. But the call for people to come out was one in which we saw some persons coming out, but given the nature of the protest and life and a family who demanded that their bodies, the body of their loved one be found, and the lackluster approach, we believe at the time, that was taken by the company to put every effort in place, didn't garner the amount of support we anticipated. But calls are being made by the leadership of the community and at a national level when these atrocities occur for persons to support. The call of boots on the ground, it requires an individual to making a personal decision to participate in a process that can eventually bear fruit for their benefit and the community and the country as a whole. I just wanted to make that point. With regards to the matters concerning the Mackenzie Sports Club ground, I raised this issue in Parliament where I asked the question because they were saying in their presentation that the Mackenzie, they're going to be making an investment to make Mackenzie Sports Club an all-purpose venue. And I took my opportunity when the floor was given to inform the House that the Mackenzie Sports Club ground has always been a multi-purpose facility, catering for multiple disciplines. And I asked the question with the upgrade that the government is going to be putting to the Mackenzie Sports Club ground, of which we welcome. If all of the disciplines that the Mackenzie Sports Club ground holds and hosted, but all of those disciplines with the upgrade be accommodated with the government making this investment? And the response was yes. I too was taken back by the public pronouncement shared on Facebook by the head of state and the ministers and such like, stating that the ground is going to have a state-of-the-art IPC standard cricket pitch. And if that is one that is going to come, that is still going to facilitate all of the other activities, primarily football and athletics, then I welcome it. But I also made contact with the permanent secretary to register the concerns of the people of the community. And I indicated it to him that this was shared on the highest office holder Facebook page, and I need to know if there was a change in the decision and the information that was provided to us in the House with regards to the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. He said as far as he's aware, everything remains the same, but give him half an hour and he will get back to me, which he subsequently did. And he informed me that he spoke to the minister, and the minister said all of the disciplines that used to be played at the Mackenzie Sports Club ground, when it is completed, it will facilitate all. I also indicated to him that we believe that the community is most deserving of a pictorial image of what the upgrade will be, and we would suggest that such a pictorial display be placed at the 5 corner where the present synthetic track display is, because the community is aware of what is going there already, that we could replace that with what is to come at the Mackenzie Sports Ground to allay the fears of the community. And if they are reluctant to do so, then I guess the concerns of the community are indeed legitimate. with regards to the REO and what actions can be put, nothing can deter us as the elected officials and more so the RDC from taking the REO to court because the REO is a servant of the council. He has to execute the decisions made by the council. And according to the Local Government Act and 2801, which give guidance to the operations of the council, if the REO is in breach of executing the decisions of the council has every right to take the legal course and challenge the decision that is contrary to the council of the RDC if the REO executes it and take him to court and let the court make the determination in that regard. That's my contribution.
Well, thank you very much, MP Figueroa. I recognize this. So the matter is still up for conversation on the REO, the Mackenzie Sports Club, issue of consultation. Mr. Sharma, the matter of the Blue Lake, which can be answered by
let me jump in here, Mr. Sharma.
Yes, BC, thank you very much.
So the question was asked about the consultation on the RDC. At that time, I was appointed the RDC rep to the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. I noticed an article. I noticed on a live last night my name was called in concerning being consulted about the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. And I asked the individual to send me that article. That article was written on January 21st by one Royal Tony in Guyana Chronicle. I must say, for the record, I have absolute and great respect for Mr. Tony, but I'm quite disappointed that my name was mentioned in that article and I was never at that meeting. I was even thinking about taking legal action because person now was of the belief that Goring is a sellout. Goring was part of the consultation and did not say anything. I was not part of that consultation. In fact, it had me thinking. Since that article was written 2 years ago, I was trying to remember. Then I went back to my notes, and it is said that you live and die by the record. And I can say this for sure. I have a report here for January 2021. I have a report here for February 2021. And I think I may want to believe that I was the only councillor probably in this country that was documenting everything that I did on a monthly basis that submitted to the regional chairman. Right? And I went back to my report and I see what I've write on January 20th, whereby the regional chairman would have asked me to attend a meeting at Mackenzie Sports Club ground to observe and report back on what took place at the meeting. However, I was about to conduct a meeting in the RDC boardroom at that time. So by the time I get to the Mackenzie Sports Club ground, that meeting was already concluded and the panel are already left. So I don't know how my name reached into the article that I was there. I wasn't there. Of course, after the meeting, I can say I was updated by the General Secretary at the time, Mr. Joe Chapman. I asked him what took place. He said there was a team comprising of Charles Mohammed, Kashif Mohammed, a representative from the Foreign Ministry, a rep from the Chinese Embassy, and a team from the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture, and members of the Mackenzie Sports Club ground executive. A multi-purpose facility was proposed to the person, and a number of sport discipline would be played at the facility, including and not limited to football, basketball, table tennis, etc. I was told a drawing was presented on what the finished facility would look like. Also, this project would entail demolishing the current Mackenzie Sports Club ground building, and one executive was not in agreement with that proposal. One, Mr. Norris King, who is also a councillor, was in disagreement, and I think that was one of the main contention at that meeting. However, it was decided upon that some historic feature will remain in place. At that point, I advised Mr. George Hartman to do a press release and update the general public. This is my report back to the chairman on the 21st of the 20th of January 2021. And I'm happy that I still have this report in my record that I can report what exactly transpired. So see my name in that article and hear my name calling on social media live that I was consulted. No, I wasn't consulted. I want to refute that claim publicly. And I am disappointed that I have a very good journalist, sports journalist, who I have most respect for, Mr. Tony, would write that article. I will ask him publicly to retract that statement, retract my name from that article. I was not there. Now, to address the matter, at that time, I understand that the Chinese government would have made 3 grants available to build 3 multipurpose facility within the country. And Linden would have been chosen as one of the area, Region 10, Region 2, and Region 6. I believe the 2 at that time, Region 6 and Region 2 was consulted. I want to believe that the minister would have visited the RDC and engaged the people's representative, but that courtesy was not afforded to Region 10. So I can say that it did not engage the people of Region 10 because it did not engage the people representative. One of the other updates that I think I received from Mr. Chatman is that person was talking about the different discipline that's going to be played at the pavilion at the sports facility when it finished. They speak about football, and I think one person within that meeting would have said, please make sure or ensure that also cricket be played, because growing up, we always know that a cricket pitch was in the center of the football field, and cricket would have been played there. Never take precedent over football. We know top 20 would have trained on that facility as far as I could remember, and that was the premier ground that they utilized, and that used to be our premier team within the region at that time during those big competition, Shanghai competition, and so on. So the contention was just to make sure that all the discipline is being replaced there, football taking precedent. However, we're seeing now that a cricket pitch is being built there to ICC standard, and to my knowledge, ICC standard cricket pitch, nothing can take precedence over that. ICC won't encourage daily football playing on the ICC cricket pitch. So we are seeing that this government intends to culture our people by bringing a culture that is of a lesser use within our community. Football is the premier sport in Region 10. We grew up playing football, we grew up watching football in all the different grounds. And I think football should take the precedence. So this government imposing its will on the people of Region 10, aided and abetted by people who supposed to looking out for Region 10, but actually looking out for their own interest. And the interest is to curry favor with the government and trying to get things done, and saying that, person is irrelevant and useless, and who did not do and who did, and the different shifting of blame. But the primary thing, the primary bone of contention here is the consultation with the people. As MP mentioned, erecting a pictorial board there so that person can see what the finished product look like, just like what the president did in Region 6, where they unveil a stadium and inform their constituents what they're doing. Region 10 also should be afforded that same courtesy on what, but the disrespect for Region 10 continue, and we could see it even in the children of the people from those that aiding the government. Their trend is getting so disrespectful to the people of Region 10, disrespecting our elders and persons within the community. And by disrespecting our elders, disrespecting me, right? You're disrespecting me also, you're disrespecting the regional chairman, you're disrespecting our MPs and all the people of Region 10, wherever you are, diaspora or so. And this is the level of disrespect this government is going on with. And we want to tell the people of Region 10 to reject those disrespect, reject the government in totality, and let's set the record straight that Region 10 is a football region. Cricket cannot take precedence. We welcome cricket, we will watch cricket, but football is our premier sport, and that should take precedence. Thank you, Mr. Sharma.
All right, thank you very much, VT, and I just want to let the meeting know that we're approaching the 5:30 hour, which we should be on soon, and which is indicating that we will try to extend maybe for 50 more minutes before we bring the meeting to a close. The question on the Blue Lake is still on the floor. To not only what is happening with the current investor, but what is to happen in the future. Yes, Mr.
Sharma, you hear me?
Yes, we are.
All right, so let me just say to persons that there is a legal lease that was given to an investor at the Blue Lake. That lease remains in effect. I understand the matter is in court, and so I do not want to proceed further on speaking on the matter at the Blue Lake, because it is a matter that is currently in court. In addition
just for clarification, is this the entire Blue Lake or the Blue Lake?
The Blue Lake. This is the GIX matter that is at the Blue Lake.
And this is the area that currently accommodates the
there is a called the Guyana Initiative Against Climate Change. Was given a lease, a legitimate lease to utilize and to develop that area with a project. I don't have the concept put in front of me. There were some other issues where the person was awaiting documentation, final documentation from several agencies, and it caused some delay. And so legal proceedings were had, but I don't want to speak too much on that because the matter is before the court. To add it to the other issue with the sports facility, I want the public to know that when this thing first came up, the government consulted with the other regions, as the vice chairman said, but they have never consulted with 10 leaders. Also, we initially had put to them that our first position was that let us look for a piece of land in Amelia's ward, and we were going to ensure that you secure enough acres to support parking and to support all the various disciplines. They rejected that. We said, well, you would have been able to build a big facility to put on a section for football, a section for cricket, a section for whatever. Take all the land you wanted at Millie's Hideout. They ignored us, and they went ahead. We said, you know what? Fine. They are pushing sports club. Let us, we don't want to be accused of being anti-development and not wanting. Let us have consultation on sports club. At the same time, we were saying to them, let us utilize the field opposite Mackenzie High School, and we can use that as the cricket area. That field is big enough. Let's develop it for cricket. The minister came up, he visited the site, he said he liked the site, and I was of the impression that we were going to ensure that we upgrade both that facility for cricket and the one at Sports Club would have remained for football, FIFA standard. They never came back, they never consulted with us, they just went ahead, bulldozed their way through. It's either their way, they don't have to consult, and this is reflected by the voice note that is being circulated by one of the very official sons. And so that is disrespectful. The people demand that whenever projects are being executed in a region, that you engage their elected officials so that they can also disseminate information through the councillors who hold direct responsibility for several areas around the region. This is unfortunate because you have two persons there who are advisors to the culture, to the Minister of Culture. And one would have thought that they would have pushed the agenda based on FIFA standards. But clearly, there is some hidden political agenda here, which we have to guard against. And I don't want to, let persons feel as though we don't want cricket in Linden. Yes, we welcome our sports. But when you come to a region, you consult, and the top priority is given the green light. In this case, it is football along with track and field, well, we have the track being completed at Berak, despite the Minister of Finance said that it was already completed. We know that it wasn't completed. And so we will counter all of the propaganda and disinformation that is coming. As was indicated earlier by another leader, we welcome this project. We welcome it. But we are asking that the same courtesy that was extended to Region 6 and 2, that you respect the elected component of the council, the municipality and the RDC, and the members of parliament, and you engage us on any developmental initiative for this region. To do otherwise is to say that you are playing politics, just like with in the area of as I mentioned, with the hampers coming to the region. The Civil Defense Commission, whenever they need information on the region as it relates to flooding, they reach out to the regional chairman's office. But when the hampers are going to be evenly distributed to the region in the various constituencies to our senior citizens and those affected, it is sent to the Prime Minister's rep. And what is most unfortunate, because they don't have much supporters here in Region 10, over close to 300 hampers were left to spoil at his bottom house. This is what they are doing. And they have to end up dumping them because he held on to it rather than have it come to the elected officials, councillors. That is what they did. And this is what we have to be dealing with here in Region 10. And it is unacceptable. We will call it out and we will inform everyone of this irresponsible behavior by people who say that they are concerned and genuine about the development of Region 10. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I see Marlon Pearson, who is indicating that he would like to also have a say on the issue at the lake. Mr. Pearson, thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. Mr. Sharma, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Very well. As Regional Chairman would have indicated, the matter is subject to this issue, but I will focus mostly on the development aspect with regards to Region 10. And I have a question. We keep hearing about the issues that we're having with the elected officials and the persons who have oversight. But one of the problems you run into as a bottleneck in the region itself is that the organs in the region do not function, or the people in the region don't function. I will say this and then say this. In January 2021, we submitted our first document to the municipality. That document, we had to return the same set of documents 4 times. Then we went and we had an intervention by a particular individual, high office, that then saw the documents move from the municipality in 2022, 1 year and months after. Now, if we check the records of the municipality, we will know when this matter was called and when it was discussed, especially at the buildings meeting. And only until November 2022, we got a partial approval from housing. And the matter of housing only took us 4 months or 3 months. Now, here's the issue. How do we say we need development in Region 10 when the organs in Region 10, some of the organs in Region 10, do not function to benefit the people who are trying to develop the community, the people, the resources, that sort of thing. And that is what troubles me when it comes to us complaining. We complain and we fight, yes, but we have to ensure that what is given to us is shared equally, is granted to the persons that are here. Now, I really can't get into the details of it, but that is the fundamental issue we having. 2 years, close to 2 years. These matters spent with the municipality for approval.
Thank you. We finish, Ms. Pearson?
I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Pearson.
Mimi.
Yes, somebody else is indicated.
Otto Martin.
Yes. So that is on the Blue Lake issue that in terms of ownership, we are hearing that not only currently what is happening, but in future, we are awaiting the decision of the court in terms of any future programs that will be going at the Blue Lake.
One minute, Shaman. The ownership of the Blue Lake is not within
the boundaries of that area.
The boundaries of the Blue Lake is not within the acreage that is leased to Gaia.
Okay. So that question still remains unanswered.
Correct.
In terms of the municipality saying in the town of Linden, and I know these lands are NISIL's property, but with relation to its development, if the municipality, I believe that was the first question posed by Mr. Ollinsworth, what future plans, if it is going to go to an individual or the community will have a sort of developmental agenda for that area. Mr. Martin, because the question of Blue Lake still remains a bit open to be answered, but we'll take your question, Mr. Martin.
Good afternoon, Dr. Martin here. I have a question on behalf of a 1 Mile resident. A 1 Mile resident would like to find out what's the position with the 1 Mile Community Center. I had preempted this question to some of the leaders of Linden and that 1 Mile, and I asked them to do a little quick background. So I'm asking on behalf of that 1 Mile resident, what is the position with 1 Mile Health Center, 1 Mile Community Center? I was made to understand that maybe it's a PNC building and all these different things, because his contention is that is a community center, was a community center. He worked in it from its inception, and it's there like an eyesore, and for sure in somewhat of a depressed community, a community center could be utilized in a way to which the community could benefit. So if anyone in authority, all you guys on the panel, if anybody could give us some clarity and some clear guidance on what's what about the 1 Mile Community Center. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Martin. And only to expand that question, because I think it incorporates as Mackenzie Sports Club and the 1 Mile Community Center. I believe it now incorporates all these social facilities that are around the community. Maybe we can have an answer in terms of how their oversight is managed, in terms of how the municipality or the RDC is ensuring that it's managed effectively. So not only Mackenzie Sports Club 1 Mile, but we know the Silvertown Community Ground, we know the Black 22 Community Center, we know the Christianburg Community Center. All of those become one conversation of its management and how the RDC is given oversight to that.
So if I can attempt to answer that question, but before I go to that, I want to make some comments on the Blue Lake. The peculiarity with Linden is that after the privatization of the bauxite company, a lot of the remaining lands were put on the NISIL. So a lot of the lands in Linden are owned by NISIL. And the coalition government recognizing that in 2018, 2019, started a regularization and a sale of some of those lands to hundreds of people in the community. Comaco, West Utuka Hilltop, parts of Nicolet, Utuka, Richmond Hill, along the Washapan Road, and such like. And a lot of those people had agreements of sale. A lot of those persons paid for their lands in total, and they are yet to be in receipt of the legal documentations of ownership so they can access loans from the bank and proceed with their endeavors. And numerous persons have called me on this issue, and I would raise it to many persons who have the the powers to make a difference, and it has not yet been addressed. All right. So I want that issue to be raised. But one of the caller asked particularly concerning the lake. I wanted to know if it is going to be given to Kashif in particular or Mohammed. And it, in my view, gave the impression, and I hope that I'm wrong, that identified officials or individuals, the community would be in opposition to them investing in the community. And I want to say that if I don't know the other Muhammad, I know Kashif, well, he's a Lebanon, I don't know the other Muhammad personally. But if any member of the business community outside of London, in my view, wants to make an investment that will enhance the community and create employment opportunities for our people, once it is done in a legal and fair manner, then I believe the community should welcome any investor investing. Because the community has been one in which investors are somewhat seemingly fearful of investing. So once investment starts to come, it will have a ripple effect and more investors will come. The economy of the community will benefit, and equally so once the contracts in the regions are distributed to the people in the region, it aids in the overall development of the community. So I don't want the listeners on the program to believe that we are anti-development if it is for a particular individual some may not like. Once the individual applies and follows the legal parameters of engagements and they want to invest in the community, I believe we should support any investor wanting to invest in this region. And the issue concerning NISA, the ruling is still a matter before the courts, and NISA has the well, I wanted to say in that regard, that is before the court. So I don't want to comment any further.
Thank you very much, MP. But the matter of those community centers, as it relates to engagement by the RDC, is still up on the floor.
Yes, so
that the expression of the question is not what we have someone with a mic on. Can you please mute the mic, please? Someone is operator, can you mute that person? Mike, thank you very much. So just to go RC, the question is a bit elaborated because I think not only for the 1 mile area, but for residents who are living in Silvertongue, where there's a community center, residents who are living in Block 22, residents who are living in Christianburg. What based on the question coming from the individual of 1 mile, we can expand that in terms of the management of these community centers.
So let me just attempt to answer quickly. The 1 mile center that was raised by Mr. Martin, I don't know for sure, but of course I can pursue it and of course liaison and get back to him. Community centers, however, like the Christianburg Community Center, Bayrock Community Center, those fall under the RDC as an asset held on behalf of the people. And of course, it is maintenance is usually budgeted for by the RDC. However, the RDC gives delegated responsibilities for the day-to-day management of these facilities to management groups. For example, I think there was some CDC groups that are given some responsibility, but we at times try to ensure that those are independent of CDC. So there's a management group, like as in the case of at Bamia, which comprises of persons residing in the community that would have direct control over it, that liaises on with to the RDC. Yes, the management committees have become entrenched in some instances. But in other instances, I'm trying to remember the community name. A few persons would continue to show their commitment to the operations of these facilities. I think at Bamia, before a management committee was placed there was a young lady who was running the NDIA program there, and she had shown an interest and a desire to ensure that the doors of the facility was open. But as I indicated earlier, the RDC is willing to work along with residents to ensure that these community centers benefit the people. That is the primary objective, that they are of benefit to the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I think to the person who asked that question, Mr. Martin, two parts we got from that, which was those centers are community oriented, and also that the general management of the RDC is to ensure that the delegated responsibility of oversight comes from those communities. And I know that you made mention, and this is not to inject myself into the program, but on two matters, I just want to quickly make a point on my own personal opinion. And on behalf of the party that I'm from, the PNC is not part of any community center management that is in line with the region and the RDC and the municipality. The PNC is with an office on Guap Crescent, and that is our place of base and operations. And on behalf of the Mackenzie Sports Club issue, I believe that is a very simple matter at this moment. There is common understanding. There is a common understanding. And for those who understand law, of common law, that moves into how do we set policies going forward, that the Mackenzie Sports Club has always been a multi-purpose facility, not necessarily delegated for one sporting activity. It has cultured our community over the past several decades of that multiculturalism, of not only mass games and the Mackenzie Sports Club Fair and Gaimine Games and Crusade, and even for those who want to take their dead, so that we can have a wider audience to pay sympathy and give regards. We have used Mackenzie Sports Club for those reasons. And I believe that even though we have seen construction work proceeded by the admittance of the management of Mackenzie Sports Club without their involvement to the extent of having a say, and it being government money that is being used, which in essence represents the people money, it now becomes the responsibility of the people, us all, to be involved and informed of what is happening with our facility, this multicultural facility that we've come to recognize over the past several decades. There is the claim that people don't want to see development, which is absolutely untrue. There is lack of consultation, but more than that, there's lack of involvement and participation. I believe those are the critical areas that are to be addressed. But in my opinion, the matters proceeded to the point. I walked the facility yesterday, and there is a cricket pitch of international standards that is there. However, I believe, and I still would look forward for the community to appreciate that that's our facility. The government is building it on our behalf. And I ask that let them, we're not going to disrupt development. But whatever it's going to look like on their intention, we will take our facility back. Not because it belongs as a members club, but because of that custom of us appreciating its multiculturalism and what it is used for. We will assume our role of managing our facility. We will take it back. Let them finish it. We will take it back and we will administer our management over that facility as the people of Linden and Region 10, with our leadership, with the management of Mackenzie Sports Club. So that if any pastor wants to keep a mega crusade, why not? If persons who want to keep activities in the ground can accommodate that, why not? It is the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. And nobody, no one or individual, not because of lack of consultation, should change that. And we understand the political dynamics that are at play. So I don't believe that we can take lightly just what occurred at Mackenzie Sports Club, because it's a trend of what also is occurring at LUSCSL and many of the institutions that collectively as a community, we have not only come to embrace, but we have come to ensure that it remains within the collective spirit of our community. So our oldest co-op society in LUSCSL, our oldest sporting and multicultural facility, which is our cultural center in essence, our mecca of social activity, Mackenzie Sports Club, in my opinion, and in my determination, will remain with the people of this community. I don't recognize any other question being asked. I recognize the time is upon us also. So I'd like to, with your permission, bring this meeting to conclusion and thank each and every one of those who participated, from our representatives in the RDC, our chairman, Mr. Deran Adams, our regional vice chairman, Mr. Mark Gorin, our mayor, Ms. Vanika Arundale, Deputy Mayor, Mr. Wayne Wright Bechun, our members of parliament, Mr. German Figuera and Mr. Vivian Sears. We want to thank you for making yourselves available, and as far as you could and have provided us with information, and to answer as much as you can questions that we would have given to you. But more importantly, let me thank you, the persons who participated this afternoon and this evening in our program. Those not only on the live feed, but those also who are in the Facebook forum that is listening, observing, and watching. We want to thank you for your attention, time, and involvement. And with that being said, let me also, on behalf of our community, Linden and Region 10, though I was hoping to hear some words on one of, in fact, the biggest economic activity in our community, Linden Town Week. I was hoping to hear some updates on that. We look forward as a community to see not only that event, but any other event to come. The community is fully updated, consulted, to be involved, and to fully participate in how these events are going to be conducted. Thank you all very much for your involvement, and may Almighty God richly bless each and every one.
Comrade Sharma, before you go quickly, we want to know if this would be ongoing, like monthly or every 2 months or what?
This was the commitment given by the representatives, that this will be a monthly engagement outside of ongoing work and movement on the ground that we would hope come from RDC municipality and our members of parliament in terms of those community outreaches. So this, as was promised, and I hope the promise is kept, is going to be monthly, and also our representatives have pledged to be more visible in our communities. So
Sharma, I just want, before you go, to encourage all those who are on to like the RDC page, follow us, so that when the next meeting is organized, they can invite other persons to join in, and so that we can have broader representation, a broader discussion all across the length and breadth of our region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, and may Almighty God bless. Good evening.
Good night. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you all.